Well, hello everybody. We're back. We're in a new location, my basement with my couch and my who am I kidding exercise equipment. So yeah, welcome to the basement. Welcome to the fornication chamber. It's a nice little location. Look, I'm already steaming up. All right. So today we're going to be talking about going trick-or-treating. Basically, I went trick-or-treating until I was physically too imposing to pull off looking like a child. So yeah, I'm very nostalgic for Halloween. I used to love going trick-or-treating. There's two different kinds of nostalgia. There's the good kind of nostalgia where you're like, oh yeah, that's everybody can approve of that. So like trick-or-treating, Saturday morning cartoons, and then there's the bad kind of nostalgia where some guys are like, man, I miss seeing babies' butt cheeks on diaper commercials. So this is the good kind of nostalgia. So yeah, go trick-or-treating every year, except for the one year when I was a little too pretentious, so I stayed home and watched Star Wars instead. So basically, when we went trick-or-treating when we were younger, we weren't one of them uptight towny kids that get to go trick-or-treating in town until I was like 17. So yeah, we went door to door. We lived out in the middle of the woods, so there was like a 50-50 chance that a pedophile was going to get you. Um, so it was a little risky. But it was good going out in the country because your neighbors like saw nobody trick-or-treating, so they always bought like as much as they could, as much candy as you could in like good portions. Um, so like you would get the big old chocolate bars. There was the odd prick who would give me an apple, but looking back on my physical condition now, maybe they had my best interest in mind. You would have those people. You'd have people that give out the weird tasting toffee that would pull your fillings out. Yeah, and thankfully, I went to a bit of an uptight church back in the day. Kind of had a little tight leash around your neck, so to speak. So they didn't really care about trick or treating. I do have some friends that don't take their kids trick or treating because they don't like celebrating all the demonic stuff, which I understand, I get, but like. Which is perfectly reasonable, going the Jehovah's Witness route of not wanting anything to do with the heebie-jeebies. Although you can't say it's a sin to go trick-or-treating, my dude, because gluttony is a sin, and you a fat chunker. Anyways, I just kidding. Don't take your kids trick-or-treating if you don't want to. That's perfectly fine. Although I did go to a church one time where we had, instead of a Halloween party, we had a Reformation Day party. And if you're not familiar with that, that is basically like hundreds of years ago, there was an angry Catholic man who was like, all right, Catholics, you silly. So he taped a piece of paper to the door saying, yeah, we're still Christian, but we don't we're not a big fan of the Catholic Church. So we're going to go start our own where we're not allowed drinking wine, and we don't believe little babies are going to hell if you don't dunk water on their head. So maybe that was a good idea. Maybe it wasn't. Who knows? Anyways, I went to one church where they celebrated Reformation Day, and they bought a big old cake, and they put a picture of Martin Luther, not Martin Luther King, Martin Luther, the priest who did that back in the day. He just made a cake with his face on it. So I'm like, all right, I'll celebrate. And we'll celebrate any holiday if it has cake. But yeah, growing up, we would go trick-or-treating. I had one cousin, he was kind of creepy. He was like an older cousin. He'd be like 85 now if he was still alive. But he had like a Gene Simmons tongue. And so like every time you went trick-or-treating, he would just stick his tongue out at you. And it was really disgusting. But hey, free candy. I'll I'll deal with a tongue if I can get some candy, you know. And we had one trick or treating one Halloween day when I went with um a pastor's kid hung out with us, and it was actually her first time going trick or treating. So yeah, basically she never went trick or treating before, and she came over to my house or my grandparents' house, and we all went trick or treating. So yeah, it's taking a preacher's kid out for the first time, except it was for candy. So the good kind of first time, not the end up being murdered by her father first time kind of thing. But yeah, that was pretty fun. Now that trick or treating day. So like usually my costumes for trick-or-treating were pretty tame. I would dress up like a nerd, like I grabbed my dad's old big old thick, inch and a half thick glasses, dressed up like a nerd. I looked like Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys, but I had one costume that I didn't really think through. I kind of dressed up like a homeless person, and I had a candy sack out front. And then I put a sign on my chest, and it said free candy with an arrow pointing straight down. I didn't really think that through, boys. So yeah, imagine going to my grandparents' house, having a sign that said free candy with an arrow pointing down. I went to my great aunt's house, and my cousins just couldn't stop laughing because they're like, are you serious? You're coming here trying to get people to grab your wiener? Like, oh no. So maybe that's a good reason why I'm not trick-or-treating as an adult, because it's not really the best thing to do, going around with a sign that says free candy pointing down. Yeah. Anyways, thanks for listening.